Welcome to Vision Forward's Tech Connect Live, connecting you to the world of assistive technology. And now, here are your hosts, Corey and Luke.
Hello, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Tech Talk Live, your number one show for learning about cooking today, at least.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is your mic on?
I hope so.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Can anybody hear me?
Yeah, you're looking. No, you're fine. Good start. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Producer Jonathan is out today.
Yeah.
So it's like we completely forgot how to do half of the stuff.
We did.
So
It's only been like a few weeks since he took over doing that stuff as well.
Although last week we weren't on YouTube, didn't have audio on YouTube.
No,
Not that we can blame. Well, let's blame producer Jonathan because he's not here. So
100%, yeah.
we'll go ahead and blame it's his fault. But today we should be good. Hopefully we can't even monitor YouTube, so hopefully there's a lot. Harpreet, let us know if you can hear us live.
Yeah. So if you chat, please do comment on YouTube, but we can't read them. So just comment between each other. You know, that's what being social is all about.
Really,
and you know what else is related to social things, Corey?
No.
Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Yeah. And you know what we're talking about today?
Christmas.
Exactly.
No, I'm guessing we're talking about Thanksgiving.
Yes. Today we're going to be looking at how to safely, effectively, and tastefully create.
I like tastefully. There's some double meaning there. I like it.
Exactly. Create your Thanksgiving meal. And to do so, because Corey and I know nothing about, anything really, but especially know nothing about cooking. But luckily we have a accessibility cooking expert in the house.
Yeah.
Please raise your hands and give a firm round of applause for Rose Visser. Hello, Rose. How are you today?
Good. How are you doing?
Excellent. And as you can see, Rose is coming live from the Italian kitchen that we have here in Vision Forward.
Specifically said if I come on your show, I must be in an Italian kitchen.
Yeah,
so we worked really hard to build.
You guys did a great job.
Oh, thank you.
Gorgeous.
I'm not exactly sure what makes a kitchen. I tried making a joke and realized quite quickly. I said, "Oh, I know it. Put an Eiffel Tower in there," and then you pointed out that that's French and not Italian. So I don't know what makes an Italian kitchen. But
Well, I do.
What's that?
If you have an Italian person in your kitchen, then it's an Italian kitchen, right?
Good point.
That's true.
So an Italian kitchen can be anywhere.
Pretty much. It's wherever you think it is. Yeah, that's where it is. Rose, do you have any Italian blood in you at all? Or?
I do not, no. I just like that the kitchen is spacious and lots of marble, lots of space to work with.
Of course, nothing less. And Corey put this together using Ira. So
I built it.
He built
on
it
my own.
He built it using Ira. Yeah.
Yep.
Only
This
the
morning.
finest materials just this morning.
Yeah. I did the carving of the marble.
Wow. Talented.
Yeah, I'm very talented.
All right, for the moment, let's switch back to our view because we have to, of course, do the all-important joke time.
We do.
Just before we do, though, Corey, you recommended me a book.
I did.
It was called Project Hail Mary by a gentleman by the name of Andy Weir.
That is correct.
And he also wrote The Martian. Don't know if anybody has read the book or seen the movie of The Martian. I've been reading through the book, and so far I've been enjoying reading it, but I've found the main character to be, not my
Very
personal
shallow.
favorite.
There's
Very
really
shallow.
no depth to it. It's definitely, like we said before, it's definitely, I don't want to say a fluff read, but it's like a read for pleasure. You're not going to walk away with any real deep thoughts.
Exactly. Yeah, but it is enjoyable to read nonetheless. And Corey, I don't want to spoil the plot too much, but during the course of his adventures, our lead character comes across an alien, and the alien happens to be blind. Yeah. And his whole species are. It's not just him. And but he is able to quote unquote see through the use of very advanced listening capabilities.
Yes.
Almost echolocation style.
Yeah, it seems like. I mean, they never really go super deep in depth about it, but there's points where he's listening across, huge amounts of space. So obviously he's got some super hearing.
Definitely seemed to be an echolocation, which reminded me of that guy who does the echolocation. I'm sure you're aware of him.
Yeah, I've never been able to do I definitely use pieces of that traveling. Like you can sort of hear when you walk past something or doorways, but some people are like just amazing with that echolocation and
exactly. This specific guy makes those noises. I forget his name sadly, but he has a TED talk And he makes those noises as he goes around to help him navigate. If any of our audience does that, then please let us know in the chat, because the chat is where we like to chat.
The chat is where it's at.
The chat is where it's at, as a wise man once said.
As the kids are saying now.
So please do put into the chat anything really, but definitely your experiences with cooking. We would like to hear about those.
So it's a sign of desperation.
Please, just write to
please put anything in there. Just anything is good.
Of course, if you have any cooking tips of your own, we would love to hear those. If you yourself have read a Project Hail Mary, you can put your thoughts about that into the chat, and obviously jokes as well, because we do like jokes on this show. And let's get over to the jokes now, Corey.
Yes.
Let's tell our joke first of all.
Okay.
This is not Thanksgiving related, it's time related.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, here goes the joke. Everybody. And Rose included, if you know the answer to this joke, Rose, then feel free to shout it out here. So here's the joke.
I forgot it already.
Why did the man stop eating clocks? Why did the man stop eating clocks? I'm sure they were pretty tasty, so I can't think of any good reason why he would want to.
Tick or tack or hands.
Anybody? Why did the man stop eating clocks?
I don't know. Rose, do you have any idea?
I have no idea. He ran out of time or something.
No,
That's actually pretty good.
That's very good. Not the answer, but you are close though.
Yeah, you're on the right. You're on the right track here. Yeah, time.
The answer is because it was too time consuming. Let's see.
Yeah, get that.
Hey, I'll give myself a rim shot there.
You reached over for, so if I was reaching, that wasn't the button I was reaching for.
Susan Eggolt here in the chat said he had second thoughts.
Ooh, that's a good one too.
I'm going to give him lots of these. People coming up with great answers.
Yeah, that one's a good one. I like that.
And also in the chat from Paula, what do you get when you cross a turkey with a ghost? So Thanksgiving themed here. What do you get when you cross a turkey with a ghost?
Something I was going to say, like gobble.
Nope. Yeah, no.
I do not know.
A poultrygeist.
Oh, that's pretty good. That was pretty good.
Excellent.
Paul and Paula, thank you very much.
Paula, thank you.
Always look forward to those.
All right, well, Rose, we are going to be handing the reins over to you, so to speak, and I myself am just the worst chef on the planet. And Corey, I know that you are the cook of your family, but you did disclose to me that you have the same meals on rotation every week, which is also what I do as well. So, but I know that Rose is much better, so we are in good hands, and we're going to start off, Rose. We are going to be going through the process of making your Thanksgiving meal. So we need to start at the start here, and the start is accessing the recipe. Okay.
Yes.
How are we going to do it?
So there's lots of different ways that you can do that. For Thanksgiving time, a lot of us have our favorite family recipes that we follow, or maybe we want to try a new recipe this year. So we have to be able to access that recipe, and there's lots of different ways that you can do that. One way is to use a device called the Pen Friend. I don't know if you've heard of the Pen Friend before, but it looks like this. It's actually an audio labeler. It's a very simple device, and that's what I like about it. There aren't a lot of buttons on it, so just a few buttons on the front. They're bright yellow, so if you have some vision, you can kind of see the contrast with them. This device comes with some different labels. It comes with magnetic labels. You also get some special stickers that have technology built into them that go along with this device. So for an example, how you would use this to record a recipe, you could have your recipe written on a recipe card or maybe in a recipe book, and then you would put one of your little stickers from the Pen Friend on the card, and then you can record a message or a recipe, maybe the name of the item you're trying to cook, maybe some little tips about how to cook it. You would record that onto that label. I'm going to turn on my device and just show you. There's a power button that you just hold down until it beeps, makes a beeping sound. I've recorded a message onto this little sticker, and we're going to simply touch the device to that label, and we're going to listen to what we have recorded.
Betty Crocker milk chocolate brownie mix. Ingredients: 3 tablespoons water.
So I won't go through all of it, but you can hear how it's listing all the things I recorded. The ingredients, the directions, any important information that you want. So that's a great.
Whose voice was that on the pen friend there?
Yeah, I was going to ask that too.
That was my voice,
Was it?
actually.
Yeah, kidding.
It didn't sound, no,
Right?
it didn't
It sounds
sound
different when it's recorded.
Yeah,
right?
I would not. I was going to say the same thing. Like, where did you download that from?
Really?
Rose, I want you
Oh,
to
okay.
just record every recipe so everybody can have the pleasure
Ready?
of
Okay.
listening to that.
Might have to put my other work on hold for a while to do that, but
While it's playing, Rose, are you able to pause it?
you can't pause it. So like if I were to hit the power button again, it's
Yeah.
just all or nothing.
Okay.
So yep.
So
have
if you
to-
wanted to do it, one way you could potentially do it if you wanted steps would be multiple stickers then, right?
Exactly.
Step 1, step 2.
Yep, so you could have
Okay.
multiple stickers on this recipe card, or I've had some people that will have a little notebook with multiple stickers on it, and they just keep their recipes in that little notebook.
Sure.
So that's a great way to do it too. Yep. So that's one device. I love it. Again, it's a simple device. Another way that you could access recipes, especially on food packages, a lot of packages will have a recipe on the side. I have some stovetop stuffing mix here.
Ooh,
Yum.
yummy.
A delicious Thanksgiving staple. And
My
on the
house it
side,
is.
Yep, mine too.
on the side of the package, it'll have the recipe. So if you can't quite remember or can't see the tiny print on that, you could put this recipe or this box inside of a Ziploc bag and put a pen friend label on the outside. You also can use apps to access that print recipe. So there's the Seeing AI app for iPhones and the new Lookout one. Is that the name of it?
Yep,
Right?
yep.
For your Android device. But that's a great way to use your phone to be able to read the print that's on a food package. If you have those apps, though, you do know that there's some quirks to them, right?
Yeah, finding the barcode you typically can be
Yes.
difficult, or getting it to read. Sometimes I've done that with Seeing AI and try to read the directions, and it'll say like preheat to, and then the number's all messed up, and you're like, well, I don't think I'm supposed to preheat to 800 and something, or 35. So sometimes you got to check a couple times
Yes.
to make sure it's accurate.
True, yeah. So there's some little quirks with that. Or if things are written in like a chart or a table, the app doesn't necessarily read down the chart, right? So it reads across and can jumble up your words.
We did a video, a past video, geez, it must be probably over 2 years at this point. We did a video about accessing barcodes, remember? And one of the things we did was using a computer and the Directions for Me website, where you could look up barcodes or just type in the name of the product, and then you got a nice, if you're a screen reader user on the computer or magnification, you got all the instructions right there to review as well, too.
I like Directions for Me because, like you said, it kind of lays out the recipe very simply. It gets rid of all the visual clutter. So if you're looking up a recipe online, there's so many ads and visual clutter.
Yeah.
So Directions for Me keeps it really simple. And if you have some vision, it spaces out the lines nicely too. It makes it easier to read. So yeah, that's a good one. Your digital assistants too can be very helpful for looking up recipes. Your Amazon Echo, Google Home, all of those are great ways to look up a recipe as well.
And I love those because they'll do, and again, we did a past session on it. But all three of them, the HomePod, the Google Home, the Amazon Echo, will do the steps, give you time to complete a step, and then you just say next or whatever, next step, and it gives you the next step in the recipe. So that's really cool too. It doesn't just throw it all at you.
Yeah, that's a great way to do it. I love the digital assistants. They're great in the kitchen. You can set timers and use them for a lot of different tasks. Or if you're just trying to look up something quick, like a measurement conversion, it can be helpful for that too, just to look up important information. So they work great. Video magnifiers are also helpful if you have a favorite cookbook at home and you can't quite read the recipe. You have some vision, but you're having trouble seeing the words. There are portable video magnifiers that you can get. There's lots of different kinds, but in general, how they work is they use a lot of kind of higher technology. They have buttons where you can magnify what you're looking at. So this one, it's called the Explore 8, and you would rest it right on your cookbook, your recipe, and then you can make the print bigger or smaller. But what's nice too is you can adjust the contrast of what you're looking at. So if you prefer white words on a black background to really make the words stand out, something like this can be helpful. And it's portable, so it's nice to bring it into the kitchen, set it on your recipe book, and just kind of slide it along and adjust the magnification and contrast. There are bigger versions of these called desktop magnifiers. Those aren't as portable, so you have to have them kind of resting, setting on a table in your kitchen. But for those, you get a bigger screen, so those can be very helpful with placing your recipe book under the screen and then doing the same things as the portable one, adjusting the contrast and magnification. So I don't know if you guys have ever used those for recipes.
I never follow a recipe.
Okay, that answers that question.
For me, for recipes, I usually am doing it on the computer, and then I will put it from the computer. I'll put it onto my phone, either in the Notes app or something like that, and then just kind of follow it step by step. Although I have been trying to use the Echo more because sometimes the problem with the video magnification or the phone is that your hands. I have found cooking blind, my hands are always dirty. I'm washing my hands a million times as I'm cooking. And so trying to keep hands free is helpful.
Yeah, so the voice activated devices are more helpful for that, definitely. And if you are cooking with vision loss, you want to get your hands in stuff, right? So that you can tell a lot about the texture of the food and when you're mixing things up. So yeah, voice activation is the way to go. So let's talk about, once you have your recipe, now you probably want to do some stuff on the stove or in the oven. You want to cook some items, right? So safety with the stove or oven is very important. And one of the big things is just making sure that you can identify your stove or oven. There are lots of different kinds of stoves or ovens. I go into people's homes and help them with labeling, and almost every time I go into their home, I see a new one, one that I haven't seen before. So making sure that your appliances, your small or large appliances, are labeled properly can help you to access all the little controls and dials and buttons. And there's lots of different ways to label them. And most appliances can be labeled in a way that somebody with vision loss can use them.
Except mine.
Yours.
I
What is yours like?
I bought brand new ones when we moved, and I can't. It's all flat. And it's not touch screen basically, but it's a big flat panel, and I put bump dots on the specific buttons I need. But when you reach up to find those buttons, you press all the other buttons because they're so
Things,
So I honestly, all I can do is hit bake and get it on at 350, and I have to cook everything at 350 unless I have someone come help me.
I know though. I know a solution to this. You can get a new oven. Yeah. You put gloves on. And then you can find the bump dot.
But it's not, it's pressure sensitive, not capacitive. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So it is, but those bump dots make a huge difference. Even in that case, I'm still able to at least do something, which without bump dots, you wouldn't be able to do anything.
I'm surprised you didn't buy a smart cooker, Corey.
I know, I really should have, but it was, long story. Anyways, I regret not getting a more tactile or at least a smart stove. And now I feel because it's a year old at this point, I feel like I can't get another one.
Yeah, the smart cookers are nice. They're expensive, right? It's still kind of a new technology.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you do have a stove at home, as long as it's not Corey's stove, a lot of them can be labeled. The bump dots, like you mentioned, are great. Bump dots are basically just raised up stickers. They come in lots of colors. A bright orange is a helpful color if you have some vision. It's an easy to see color. But if you have no vision, you can usually feel them. And how we use these is we put these on the different controls on our appliance. So I'm holding up an example. This is a picture of a dial. And how you would label a dial with bump dots, you would put two different bump dots on. One would be at your starting point that you're going to line the dial up with, and then you would put a bump dot on your setting. Usually with things like your burner dials, I recommend putting a bump dot on your medium setting. It's right in the middle. Once you can find the medium, you can usually figure out which way to turn it for your other temperatures. But the bump dots are heat resistant too, which makes them better than maybe other tactile markings that you might just find at a hardware store.
Yeah. Glue doesn't melt away and fall off.
Exactly. They don't melt away and fall off. Unless your surface is greasy, they can slide off. So make sure your surface is clean.
How long do you think they would generally last then? I mean, can they just last forever?
They can last a long time.
I've had some on that have been on for years on stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you get them on right in a nice clean surface, they'll last for.
They will last a long time. That's true. That was my pen friend going off, in case you're wondering.
I've got bump dots all over the house, from the microwave to the stove to the thermostat to the washing machine those, in my opinion, when you think about like what are the must-haves in anyone's house that's got a visual impairment, a pack of bump dots is like, you must have that in your house at all times.
Yes, I think almost every client I work with, I recommend some sort of labels like bump dots. They're very useful. Another useful labeling tool is called Spot and Line Pen. It's a tactile paint. It's very useful for the same uses as the bump dots. When it dries, it creates a raised up surface, and it comes in a bright color like this bright orange. But the nice thing about this is you can draw out something. So you could draw out a symbol, like a plus sign or a minus sign or an arrow. So there may be times where just a simple dot doesn't make sense to you. So if you put a plus sign, for example, where you increase the temperature on your oven, that may make more sense. You do have to let it dry. It takes a little bit of time, but then once it's dry, you can touch it. It's raised up. It works really well. I like the Spot and Line pen because it has lots of uses. You can label clothing tags with it too. It's heat resistant again, as long as it's dry. You could throw your clothing in the washer and dryer, it won't come off. So it's a very handy tool.
And you can kind of adjust like how thick it is too, to a certain extent, right? If you maybe use a toothpick to make a thinner line if you need, or whatever. You can. So that's kind of cool.
You can build it up to make a bigger marking. That's true. And then there is something called Wiki Sticks. Have you guys heard of Wiki Sticks?
I used them. Oh gosh, I used them. That's how I got through high school math. Geometry. We used Wiki Sticks to create the shapes and all that stuff. So yeah, they're really cool.
They're great. They're so handy, and they're very low tech, which is nice. And they're bendable craft wax, basically. So you can bend them into different shapes. You can cut into smaller pieces, press it on a surface, but then you can also remove it. So it works really good for labeling things like boxed food packages where you don't want to throw away an expensive label. You could put a label on a box of mac and cheese and be able to identify it. I use this to label the popcorn button on my microwave. So I make in the shape of a P for popcorn. So you can easily
Good
find
idea.
that.
Is that the most important button on your microwave?
It is.
Okay.
Next to the coffee button.
Yep.
Yeah, that way the popcorn.
At least for my son, it's a very important thing. So those are just some ways that you can label your appliance. Make sure you have it labeled properly before you start to even use it. Make sure you can identify things on it.
Just going back to popcorn for a second, and I only made popcorn in a pan for the first time.
Like with actual oil and
a few weeks ago. But of course, like having not done it before, I made the classic mistake and didn't put the lid on. So there was popcorn all over the kitchen.
Had a mess to clean up.
That's very funny.
Other things with the stove or oven, thinking safety. With vision loss, your tendency is to use that sense of touch a little bit more. So making sure your hands are protected when you're interacting with the stove is important. There's lots of different oven mitts and gloves that you can get. I like these ones. They're oven gloves. They look like the ones that you see on TV advertised, but they're a little bit longer, which is nice. They really come up a little bit further down your arm. This one also has some grippy surfaces on it, so it makes it a little bit easier to grab a pan from out of the oven. Oven mitts a lot of times are bulky. Sometimes it's hard to wiggle your fingers and grab that pan easily. So I really like this kind.
I love the gloves. You get way more dexterity and easy. Yeah.
Exactly.
Is that a specific brand of glove there, Rose?
It's called the oven glove.
Oh, it's just called the oven glove. Okay.
They went straight. Just make it as simple as possible.
I don't know if there's a specific brand on this one, but we do sell these in our store. But you can get them online as well. They do make some that are shorter though, so I do recommend getting the ones that are longer and come up your arm a little bit further.
And if I'm not mistaken, you recommend that so that when you open up the stove, the oven. Sorry, I always get the stove and oven.
It's all the same.
When you open up the oven door and reach in, you sometimes, that top rack, you sometimes can bump your forearm on the actual top of the oven.
Yes.
So if you've got it coming up a little bit more, you're protecting that forearm in case, right? Is that?
Yep, you're exactly
Okay.
right, because we sometimes forget about the top of that oven. You can easily bump your arm on that. I also recommend using it too if you're a little uncertain or uncomfortable about the stove top as well. So when you're trying to search for a pan or find the handle for the pan, but you're nervous about how to touch, and search for that pan, just put on your glove and then you can easily move around and touch and find the pan.
Yeah, we actually we have a kettle that we put on the stovetop, but it's all made of stainless steel or whatever, and so the handle just gets really hot whenever you boil water in it.
So you want to. Yeah, that's tough. My pots and pans too. My same thing. The handle gets hot. It's like I can't even
I
grab
don't
it.
understand why they do that.
Yeah, even some that are supposed to be protected on the handle,
Yeah, it just
sometimes they
doesn't-
still get hot.
I found that when you talk about stovetops, I have gas now in this house, so I don't have the flat top. But my last house, I had the electric flat glass type, and that can always be tough. What I found hard there was, and maybe this is my technique. So first, I always put the pan on before I turned on the stove, because a lot of times you can sort of feel the burner part has some little texture or some grippy. So I'd line it up before I turned it on. But then if you had to take the pot off for any reason and bring it back, the way I found I would you kind of knew what corner to put it in, right? Front, back, whatever it might be. So I'd set it down there, and then I would just use my hand very gently, not touching anything, but just feeling kind of the heat around it. And you could kind of tell, okay, this side's got way more heat coming. You could kind of feel the heat to figure out. But you got to be careful that you don't touch the pan or bring your hand too close to the stove. But
yeah, and that's where the gloves could be handy.
Yeah.
Or I like using a wooden spoon as like a replacement to your hand.
Oh,
so you can use that and just tap and find at least where the pan is.
Yeah.
And once you know where the pan is, then you can do that circling around it to find where the heat is escaping. But yeah, the gloves work fine for that too. Lots of different techniques that can be helpful. Another quick thing for the oven, there's something called oven rack guards. They're pieces of heat-resistant, specially designed fabric, and you just snap them on the front of each of your 2 oven racks, and they can stay in the oven. A lot of times people are like, what? You can keep fabric in the oven? This kind you can. And once they're snapped on the front, it protects your hands if you should accidentally touch the front of the oven rack. But they're white in color, and most ovens are dark or black. So if you have some vision loss, it's hard to tell where the front of that rack is. So this tells you where it is.
So how hot does it get, when you're cooking? How hot does the fabric get pretty hot or not?
No,
not too bad,
doesn't.
I suppose, because
it doesn't. There are some metal
really
snaps, but they're kind of tucked inside. But yeah, this is very similar material that firefighters have in their outfits, so it's specially designed to take heat, and then you can easily unsnap it and throw it in your washing machine or dryer to clean it off. So.
Pretty cool.
That's how a firefighter dries their uniform after washing it.
They put it in the oven?
Yeah, just stick it in the oven.
When they just put it in the dryer?
Oh yeah, I guess so.
Oh, okay. do they put their turkey in the dryer to cook it?
Never go to a firefighter's house for Thanksgiving.
No.
Good point.
Like you hear the dryer go off, food's done.
All right, so I want to talk a little bit about just some specific cooking tasks that you might do to prepare your Thanksgiving meal. A lot of us boil things as we're getting ready to cook, boiling potatoes or things like that. And it can be tough to tell when water is boiling, right? So the tendency, I think, is to lean in, right? So you're trying to see if the water's moving or trying to hear if that water is boiling or moving. But leaning into that hot pot of boiling water is probably not real safe, right?
Not the smartest,
So there are some ways that can kind of keep you back a little bit and still let you hear the water. There's a cool little disc. It's very low tech. It's called a boil alert disc. It's a little disc made out of ceramic, so it's porous. And how this works is you fill up your pot of water, and then you put this disc in the water before you turn anything on. So you keep the burner off so you can fill up your water, touch the pan, put your disc inside, and then you turn on your burner. And then once the water starts to boil, you're going to hear a little rattling noise like just very slight noise, like that disc is moving because of the moving water. And then when your water's really boiling, you really will hear it kind of like really rattling on the bottom of the pan. So such a low-tech invention, but it really kind of keeps you back and lets you know that water is boiling. And
So here's a question. So let's say I'm going to boil potatoes. I mean, usually I would just open up a box of instant potatoes.
Oh, come on.
But let's say let's say I'm making mashed
didn't hear
potatoes from
that.
scratch, which I've never done in my life.
Seriously? I
Never.
do it all the time.
Really?
They're delicious. So.
You have to teach me.
kind?
Mashed potatoes from scratch. I've never done. Never
You
in my
should
life.
do
easy.
a session with
Do you
me
just
in the
cook
kitchen.
potatoes and then smash them?
Yeah, and then add some things in like butter.
Few more steps.
All right,
Yeah.
a few more steps. Do you just leave the? And I love these products. They have just straight. There's like no creativity to the name.
It's very straightforward.
Do you leave the boil alert pod? Do you leave it in there then when you cook your
question.
potatoes, or are you supposed to pull it out? And if so, how?
Yeah, I
would you
get
do
that question a lot actually. So yeah, you leave it in there as it's boiling because it's going to be hot. The disc
Yeah.
will be hot. And then at the end, when you go to, strain the water off in a strainer or however you remove the food, you leave it in there and let it cool off. You can remove it either after it's cooled off, or you can take like a little scoop or something and get it out. But don't touch it with your hands because it will be really hot.
So it's safe to leave in while you cook your food.
Definitely. Yep. It's food safe. Yep.
It imparts a nice ceramic flavor to your potatoes.
Yeah, exactly. I can't tell you, being blind and eating, how many times I've taken a forkful of something I had no idea. So I could just sit down like I'm eating mashed potatoes and I'm like, oh, this big ceramic
one's very
disc. I mean,
You'll realize right
I must
away.
have didn't cook this one long enough.
Little ceramic flavor.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Other things, making sure that your food is cooked all the way. Cooking your turkey or your meat, you want to make sure it's cooked correctly
yes.
and safely, right?
Or your tofu-urky. I just like to put
Or your
that in there.
tofurkey.
Oh,
Yep,
sure.
that's true.
Your
Yep,
turducken?
Exactly.
What?
Do you know what a turducken is?
I've never heard of it.
That's where you take, all right, I forget now.
Turkey,
A turkey-
duck, and chicken. But
I think you stuff, one gets stuffed, the chicken gets
the
stuffed
chicken
into
and
the
the
duck?
turkey,
Oh, chicken into the turkey?
I think, and the duck
and then the duck into the chicken. It's all three of them.
You realize I'm vegetarian.
I know you.
It's probably something you'll never have. Something I don't know
I
if
thought
I
you
would
maybe
ever
at least
have.
heard of the
No,
turducken. Yeah.
I could stuff tofu chicken into tofu turkey. Into I don't think they do tofu duck though, sadly.
Probably not.
Probably not. Yeah. Making sure that your food is cooked all the way is important. And I think a lot of times people tend, especially with meat, they tend to overcook it because they're worried about it being undercooked. So
And
understandably.
you don't want to do that with your Thanksgiving turkey because you don't want to dry it out for your guests.
You ever saw Christmas, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation? She cuts the turkey in it.
Exactly. We don't want that kind.
I know.
So there are some devices for making sure it's cooked all the way. Timers, always set some sort of a timer when you're cooking. There's lots of different timers. Your cell phones have timers, which are great because your cell phones are usually on you or nearby you. I know I have to have mine right by me. Digital assistants, again, can work really great for setting timers. What's nice about those is you can ask the digital assistant how much time is left, which is very helpful.
I will say as well, with the smartphone, if you have your hands-free voice assistant set up, then you can use that basically the same as your your Amazon Alexa or whatever it might be. So,
Exactly, definitely. If you prefer some of the lower tech options, there are large print timers that you can get. This is a great big one. Very simple dial, so you just turn it. It's got tactile markings on it, so you can feel the numbers. I think it has some, not braille, but tactile markings. And then this one is white numbers on a black background, which again, that makes those numbers kind of stand out a little bit more. We also have, there's other simple timers. This is just a basic digital timer where the numbers are slightly raised up. And then we put some of those bump dots that we learned about earlier on this timer to make it even more accessible.
Braille timers too.
Yep, Braille. There's talking timers. We have one here that has a...
Timer off. The timer time is 0 hour 59 minutes.
Oh, I did have some time on there.
seconds.
So yeah, talking timers can be helpful too. So if you like some of those lower tech options, they're available. But always set some sort of a timer when you're getting back into the kitchen and cooking more. There are also talking meat thermometers. I don't know if you've ever used one of these before. But these can be very helpful.
I don't use that kind. I use the type that connect to your smartphone. So I've used the iGrill before, and then my family for Thanksgiving, not for Thanksgiving. Why would my family give me a present for Thanksgiving?
Why not?
For Father's Day, they gave me a new one called a Meter. And I think it's MEATER.
Now that is a smart name.
Yeah, and this one, what's so cool about it is it connects to my smartphone, but it also connects to Amazon Echo. And so I put it, you stick it into the meat, and then on the app you choose what meat you're cooking, how thick it might be, and then it will tell you when it's done based on the correct temperature.
Oh, that's
But then you can also track it, but then you can also at the same time ask your Amazon Echo what the temperature is and how much time is left and all that too.
Nice.
So that's what. So it's, I mean, it's a high-tech version of the talking cooking timer, but it has some extra features.
I like that you don't have to think quite so much. Like, so with this one, you have to know what's a safe temperature because it's going to tell you what the temperature of the meat is.
Yeah.
So if you don't know anything about cooking or what temperature should it be, you can always look that up.
And that you can't leave in either, right? I mean, that's got a plastic top, and so it's more
you
kind
just
of
poke
stuff.
it in,
Yeah.
test it, and then remove it right away.
Got it.
But again, if you like something simple with just simple buttons, it has just 2 buttons really. One is your on/off button, and it tells you what you're doing. The other side of that same button has a fast temperature button, which once you press it, it's going to start beeping and just telling you it's doing its thing. And then, so I'll show you how that works.
Can you take your own temperature with it, Rose?
No.
You're not supposed to put it under your tongue.
Don't put it on your tongue or anywhere else.
Got it.
How is this supposed to get the meat juices off?
just for food, inside food. And then on the top of the up above is your talking button. So once you let it go, then you hit the talking button.
84.5 degrees F.
And it tells you what the temperature is.
Wait, is that the temperature in this room?
Probably feels pretty hot in here. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, who knows? But it's nice too, with using these thermometers too, you can use the probe as a way to kind of poke around too and find the meat that you're trying to test and search for it using those.
I usually
tactile
sort of
cues.
like, I try to find the edge and then make a circle, like not outline it basically, because then you really get an idea. Okay, now I can stab in the middle.
Exactly.
So that's the best place to put it into the middle?
I think you want to put it into the
part.
thickest, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And I do recommend too, like once you find kind of where the middle is, to poke all the way down until you touch the pan, but lift it up right away. So because then you know that you're inside the meat, but you don't want to rest it on the pan because then you'll get the temperature of the pan.
Right.
But that tells you that you're inside the thickest part.
Corey, what's the name of your fancy?
I think Meter, MEAT.
MEATER.
It's either I think it's ER. Yeah, and it's quite accessible. A little recharger case that it sits in. It's
But
really
as
cool.
with any of these things, you have to be somewhat skillful with your smartphone
you do.
as well.
Although if you have a family member that sets it up and you just want the Amazon Echo piece, that could work. Oh well, I take that back because I think they have to set the cooking on the app. But you're right, you do need some.
If you only cook
stuff.
one thing every time, the same thing, then maybe it would work.
It's kind of nice to know about a variety of tools, right? So like the lower tech up to the higher tech.
Yeah,
There's
for
lots
sure.
of options out there, which is nice, especially for timers.
And we're hoping next year, as one of our shows, we'll be going to Corey's house, and Corey is actually going to do some live barbecuing.
I've never grilled tofu before, so you're gonna have to help. I've done bean burgers.
Those will be fine.
Black bean burgers I did. So yeah, we're gonna see what it's like.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll get a live demo of the meter at that point.
That'll be cool. Yep, excellent. Other things, cutting food for your Thanksgiving meal, you'll probably have to cut up some items, right? So
I'd just like to interject. My wife, the thing she hates most in life is cutting anything.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know why she has a deadly kind of obsession with not cutting.
Is she afraid of knives?
No, she just hates them. She finds it really boring.
I mean, but it's not like you're cutting for 3 hours. I mean, it's an activity that takes 10 seconds.
I know. I have
I
told
can't
her
be
this.
bored for 10 seconds.
Right.
So anytime we
Sorry,
have
Georgia, if you're watching.
Anytime we have a meal with cut vegetables, they're always like cut to the most minimum degree. Like a carrot will just be
funny.
like cut in half or something like that.
Then both that she can stick in her mouth.
Exactly.
That is funny.
Is that why she became a vegetarian? Because she just didn't want to cut meat ever?
But yeah, so cutting, make sure you're safe when you're cutting is important. There are cutting gloves that you can get. This is a cutting glove. It's lined with stainless steel, even though it doesn't look it or feel like it.
Yeah.
It feels like a comfortable, like winter type glove. But it protects your hand, especially the hand that's holding on to whatever you're going to cut.
The one that usually, yeah.
Yeah, so it can be very, very helpful. You can throw this in the washing machine and dryer, wash it easily. Having a nice cutting board is important. Stabilizing your cutting board is very important. So whatever kind you use, having a nice big one is helpful so that the food stays on the cutting board, and then making sure it stays on your surface either by putting it on a little towel, or you can also get non-slip shelf liner and just cut out a little piece to set your board on.
That's a good idea.
You don't want that moving around on you when you're cutting.
Sharp knife too, right? Isn't that
Definitely
what they
a sharp
the
knife.
sharper the
Yes.
knife, the better, the
sharper
safer
the
it is?
better, exactly. Because with a sharp knife, it's going to go through the food much easier. You're not going to have to use as much effort, because when you're using effort, that's when you can
When you
slip
slip.
and
Yeah.
hurt yourself. And a
Ginsu
dull
2000.
knife makes a more dangerous injury. So.
Don't you remember the commercial? Do you remember, Rose, you and I are closer, Luke's too young, but do you remember the Ginsu 2000 commercials? Remember there used to be a TV spot. It was the Ginsu knives, and they'd go around, they'd cut a can,
Yep.
and then they'd cut a tomato, and it's like, who's cutting an aluminum can?
My God.
why are you
Right,
showing-
exactly.
Look how sharp it is. You can cut a can. Like, oh, good. That's what I wanted to do.
True, yeah. There's
Anyways,
things you don't want.
You want a sharp knife.
Exactly. And I do recommend too, if you haven't cut since losing your vision, or you have a lot of that fear, which a lot of people can have, to get a little bit of training in some of those techniques too, because there are some techniques where you can use your sense of touch a little bit more. And making sure that you're not trying to cut too quickly. Don't be like those chefs on TV at first. You might get to that point, but start out slow and cautious and take your time. And I want to show you this cutting board too. This is a low vision cutting board that's white on one side and black on the other. So if you have some of that vision, if you're cutting that white onion, cut it on the black side. Bright tomato, cut it on the white side. So it really does stand out a little bit more, makes it easier to see. And then there are adaptive peelers that you can get, because for Thanksgiving, you're probably going to be peeling potatoes,
Another thing my wife hates doing.
sweet
by the way.
potatoes, things like that. She doesn't like
Cut
peeling
mine,
either.
She hates peeling as well. Yeah.
my
It's like, it's like cutting anything. Peeling's like just, yeah, all right.
Interesting. We're learning new things here.
Yeah. She's going to be so happy that you're sharing that.
Well, I honestly don't like peeling things either, just because, it does take some time. And traditional peelers are just hard to use,
I
right?
find when I peel carrots, at the end I just have this thin, teeny little carrot. Like, I find that it's like I'm obviously peeling way too much, but
get too
Peeling,
into
are you
it.
using a knife or are you
no,
using
I
a
use
peeler?
a peeler, but I think I'm just like either doing it too hard or too many times.
Yeah, right.
So like I got this nice big carrot, at the end it's just this thin little.
I have a pro tip for you. Don't bother peeling the carrots. They don't need to be peeled.
That's
You don't
true.
have to peel a lot of things.
Probably all the goodness is in the skin.
That's what they say. I think parents just said that to get kids to eat because they were lazy and didn't want to peel it.
It's a
But.
Well,
conspiracy.
I with potatoes, like if I'm making mashed potatoes, I don't peel it, because the nutrients are in the skins, and as long as you wash it
Yeah.
nicely, it's fine. But if you are choosing to peel
There you
and
go.
wanting to peel,
What makes an adaptive peeler versus just a normal peeler?
Yes.
What's the difference?
so it's a normal peeler has a handle that you hold onto, and then the sharp part comes off of the end of it. So sometimes it's hard to tell where that blade is. It's kind of out in space, out in front of you. So it's hard to line that up with the potato or whatever you're peeling. The adaptive peeler, it's called a palm peeler. So you wear it kind of like a ring. It's blending in a little bit with my background because it's green. Very cool.
Yeah, it looks
Look
so
at this.
That's crazy.
So you wear it like a ring on usually your middle finger, and then kind of slide it down your hand. And then the blade is on the inside of your hand, on your palm.
Oh, so then you're
So
kind
you're
of just
exactly,
rubbing
kind
it
of-
almost
Yep,
versus. Okay, that makes sense.
exactly. So you always know where that blade is, and you also get a lot more feedback as you're doing that. So you can feel like how the peelings are coming off. You can also use your fingers to feel what's the peeled side or what's the unpeeled side, so you don't get that skinny carrot like you always get.
I'm going to say you are 100% getting one of those from me for Christmas.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
I'm ready to palm peel.
I'm going to get you two so you can have one on either hand.
Ooh.
Well,
And
nice.
that sounds like it's instead of Freddy Krueger.
Exactly.
A new
The peeler.
Halloween, you're walking around with paws.
Yeah, the peeler.
Peter
What do you
Peeler.
need peeled?
Pizza peeler, there you go.
Pizza
Pizza peeler.
Well, I bought one for myself because my son likes to cook in the kitchen, so it's a nice kind of a safer one
Sure.
for him to use. And then my mom has arthritis, so peeling is difficult. So this is a lot easier to use if you have some physical issues as well.
I'm surprised they haven't invented something where you can just drop in the food and it just peels it for you.
Like
somehow.
spins around.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There might be some gadget out there
Yeah, you
that,
never
that
know.
does
You never
something
know.
like that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, we've cooked all of our food. So then at the end of your Thanksgiving meal, you want to eat it, right? So
No, just throw it away.
you just want to look at it
Yeah.
and just
Who cares?
throw it away at the
Yeah.
end, right?
I end up throwing away most of the food I cook. not because it's mostly because it's not edible at the end of it.
So, when you sit down at your table, making sure that you can identify your food and your table setting is important. If you have some vision, bringing in some good contrast is important. So a placemat is a great thing to have because you can choose placemats. Oh, I have a green placemat, of course, with my green.
It looks like it's see-through.
It looks see-through. So having a placemat that has some good contrasting color with your tableware. So if you have a white plate, having a dark placemat. I like placemats too that have some texture to them, so you can really feel where your space is. Using plates that have raised up edges on them so that the food doesn't fall off your plate is important. That raised up edge also gives you something to push your food up against so that you can get it on your utensil easier and up to your mouth. You may also be going over to people's houses where you're not comfortable or familiar with their table setting as well. So one method you can use to get familiar with where things are on your table, it's called the low and slow method. And all it is keeping your hands low, so like touching the table, and moving them slowly around the table to get an idea of where things are laid out on your table without knocking them over. So instead of reaching across and knocking over your wine glass, moving it slowly.
Yeah, I would imagine one of my greatest fears would be knocking over a drink. Because especially like with something like a wine glass, where
Yes.
it could be very easy to do because of
Yep.
the weight distribution. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
We just had a Dining in the Dark fundraising event last week, and it's one of the kind of the tips we give is you got a room of 250 people who have blindfolded themselves and trying to find wine and water glasses, and keeping slow and then putting it back where you found, or even if it's not where you found it, just make sure you're always putting it back in the same spot. I find sometimes if I forget to do that, I'll eat and then maybe I put my fork, and I'm feeling it's a little messy from eating, so I don't want to just set it right down. So I put it on the edge of my plate, but then it kind of gets pulled into the plate if you're eating with the spoon, and now you look for your fork, and now you got to dig your hands in the plate.
Yeah,
So just
exactly.
putting it back
In a
each time.
consistent
Yes,
spot.
exactly.
Yeah. And then also like throughout the eating process, you may have to just continue to use that low and slow method because things get moved around on you as you're eating. So, but yeah, those are some good little tips. One other gadget I want to show you if you're trying to pour some drinks, pour your holiday drinks. Pouring can be tricky with vision loss. I do recommend pouring over like a tray or the sink, so if you do spill, it catches that. There's lots of different ways that you can pour effectively though. One is to, when you're pouring into a cup, always line up what you're pouring from, the container you're pouring from, up to the cup so they're actually touching so you can feel them. So don't pour up in space. You don't know where that liquid is going, so make sure they're touching. You can also stick your finger inside the cup when you're pouring, as long as it's for you and not for somebody else. That's gross. But you can stick your finger inside the cup.
What if it's a close family member? Is that acceptable?
That
I
might
think
be
if you
okay.
ask them, hey, do you want to taste my finger? And if they're like, no problem.
Always wash your hands before you do that too.
it. Yeah. So don't you, I just drink right out of the bottle. Like, I don't even pour it in a cup. That's not a good solution?
Probably, if you live with others, again, that's probably not the best solution.
Got
But
As long as they don't mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, always ask.
Like I just
you
sit down
said.
for dinner and I have a whole gallon of milk sitting in front of me.
Might look a little awkward too.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, you won't knock it over either. So it's like, yeah.
That's very true. And then if someone needs a refill, it's right there. I'm just kidding.
But as you're pouring too, you can notice differences in the weight of the cup, the sound. A lot of times you can hear when it's filling. But if you're pouring like a hot drink, you don't want to stick your finger inside the cup. So there are devices that can be helpful. This is called the liquid level indicator. It has some metal prongs. You hang it on the top rim of your cup with the prongs facing down inside the cup. And then it's operated by battery. And so you pour like I just said, with touching the cup with your container, listen to those audio cues. When the liquid touches the metal prongs, the device is going to make a sound, something like that, where it's beeping, and that tells you to stop pouring. And so it leaves a little bit of space at the top of the cup, which is nice. So if you're pouring your hot drinks, your hot toddies, and tea and coffee, it's a great tool to use for that.
Awesome. Well, that's some fantastic tips there.
Yeah.
And I feel like everybody now is going to be safer and more productive. And what's the other word I used? Not tastier.
Yeah, you said tasteful.
Yeah, more
Tasteful.
tasteful. Thank
Yes.
you in their kitchen this Thanksgiving.
I feel I feel like
Corey, no excuses now.
I feel like
Right?
when I go to my wife's aunt's house who makes all the food, I'll be able to give her some pointers.
You can mash the potatoes, okay?
Yeah.
Boil and
Yes,
mash the potatoes.
Thank you. Yeah, you really need to be doing that.
I'm gonna try it. I will.
yeah,
I'll
good.
tell you right now. I will bring them in.
Excellent.
With
Nice.
broccoli.
Okay, I'm slightly scared, but also looking forward to it.
Right.
But no, those are some fantastic tips, Rose. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And we hope everybody has a wonderful Thanksgiving, because in 2 weeks' time we won't be here.
Yeah, we're off for Thanksgiving, our next
Yeah.
one. So we're back in December.
Yeah. Is it the year wrap up?
It is with Sam. So
in 4
Sam
weeks'
Seavey.
time, we will be returning with Sam Seavey from The Blind Life to do a end of year wrap up on assistive technology that we've used this year that we like. And that should be fun. Usually is a good laugh with Sam there.
Sam's fun. Yeah.
For Thanksgiving, I will be in England. Now, Corey, do you know what I will be eating for Thanksgiving in England? Any ideas?
Well, you're vegetarian, so it will not be any kind of meat product. Tofu chicken? Toe chicken?
The answer is
Tofu
nothing,
turkey?
because we don't celebrate Thanksgiving in England.
that's right.
So.
Oh, trick question.
So, yeah, I should have thought of that. Oh, sorry, I felt like that was a trick question.
it was.
You're gonna eat something. You will be eating on Thanksgiving.
All right, I'm gonna make it specifically like I'm gonna fast on that day now.
Oh, that sounds like a lot of work just to spite me. I mean, you're the one suffering.
I'm 100% not going to do that. Everybody, we have a YouTube channel. If you would care to go there, it is youtube.com/. No, it's not. It is. Wait, no, it is.
No, YouTube.com/Vision Forward Tech Connect.
Thank you. YouTube.com/Vision Forward Tech Connect.
Yep.
We currently have a video up on the Arcs Vision, which we did do a Tech Talk, Tech Connect live on as well,
Yeah.
the last one, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Although if you were on YouTube, you couldn't hear it.
no,
so
if you're on
check
YouTube,
out that video.
you should check out the video for sure. It's a condensed video showing some of the features and with a few jokes thrown in there. So feel free to check that out, and please do like and subscribe and hit the notifications bell and all of that stuff as well.
And we'll have a video releasing the week of No, we won't. The weekend after. The week after. No, the week of Thanksgiving,
Yeah,
we'll have a
the week
video
of, yeah.
dropping. That one's a flashback to 1992.
Yeah.
And a piece of assistive technology from 1992. It was a fun video. I think it's going to turn out well.
Yeah, it's a good,
So check that out.
fun little comparison between some modern devices versus some older ones. Rose, if people need some cooking tips direct in person, what is the best way to reach you?
They can just call our main number, main phone number, 414-615-0100. They can ask to speak with Eli, who's our program assistant, and then he can help get people started. So I do one-on-one training in not only cooking skills, but other areas of daily living, cleaning skills, taking your medication, getting dressed, identifying items, lots of different areas. But yeah, get in touch with Eli to get the ball rolling on setting up some training.
Cool.
All right, well, with that being said, thank you everybody for joining us. Again, have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and we will look forward to seeing you in 4 weeks' time.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us for another Tech Connect Live. If you enjoyed Corey and Luke's antics, be sure to join us next time. For all things Tech Connect, go to vision-forward.org/techconnect.